Hello, welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi with you, technology and social media news. If you want to be a part of this conversation, you must remember to hashtag SABC Network. You must also find us on SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Here's what's coming up in the program. Entertainment technologies were showcased at MediaTek. We will tell you about some of what happened at the event. A South African company has created a gadget that collated data at Tour de France. And our discussion is about the phenomenon that is Black Twitter. It can be serious with Black Lives Matter and Fees Must Fall. It can be light too when we share TV drama storylines. Andile Masugu from African Tech Roundup is in studio to discuss that with us. Hello, Andile.
How's it, man?
I'm all right. Now, Andile, is it right to call this phenomenon Black Twitter?
To me, it's a descriptor, man. Black people on Twitter. Sounds good to me.
All right, we'll discuss that later in the program. First, let's start with your technology and social media news. The second annual MTN Women in ICT Awards has officially been launched. Female players in the technology field are invited to enter their nominations.
Women's Month just around the corner in August, MTN has announced the Women in ICT Awards to honor ladies who are key players in this sector.
The ICT Awards, basically, which is really a platform for MTN, is a partnership that we have with Kagiso Media, Partnership for Change, which is focused on recognizing women in the ICT sector who are, succeeding every day amidst very challenging circumstances and really standing out and doing great things to propel the cause for women in their various fields.
The low number of women in the technology industry has been a big talking point globally. MTN says that events such as these are aimed at driving interest for ICT in females starting from a lower level.
Firstly, kids in high school have to do maths and science. Those are subjects that generally females a lot shy away from, but basically they give you the foundation for having a successful career in ICT. So ground roots, you have to be doing those subjects, and then when you go into university, again, you have to be willing to challenge the status quo in terms of the courses that you go for. You need to be trying to focus on degrees like engineering, science degrees.
Nominees will be evaluated in various categories, which include Innovator Recognition Award, SME Recognition, Community Builder Recognition Award, to name a few. Nominations for entries can be submitted at the MTN website, which closes on the 4th of August 2017.
Entertainment technologies were showcased at MediaTek Africa recently. It seems we are moving beyond cameras and audio and entering virtual reality spaces. Virtual reality will become a huge part of how we consume entertainment. It was part of the MediaTek Africa exhibition that took place in Johannesburg recently. There were also cameras, lights and a lot of action, but of a pitching and sales kind.
We started off very much as a broadcast film production show, and we then have grown that and brought on other verticals. So yeah, it's a long, hard slog. It's a lot of relationships that I've built up over the years with people. It's really about delivering the right visitors, understanding those exhibitors' needs and delivering the right visitors for them.
MediaTek's an awesome platform. It gets everybody, all the technology enthusiasts under one roof. It brings our clients all together. It's a good opportunity to meet new people, but more importantly, getting all our clients together and being able to showcase our latest from our suppliers.
The show dates back to 2001 and it's more interactive this year.
Well, really what we've tried to do with MediaTek this year is to create a lot of more experiential zones for visitors. So they're not just looking at technology, they're seeing how technology can actually be utilized.
This year's expo, as with previous years, also showcased vendors in new AV system integration and communications, live entertainment technology, television and broadcast, animation and film, studio production, DJ and pro audio equipment. Still in MediaTek, have you ever wondered what goes into lighting technology? The event had a competition and the 5 winners of that competition showcased what they can do with the technology of lights.
The Lighting Designer Contest was one of the big events held at MediaTek. Contestants had the opportunity to submit their design using Martin Show Designer software prior to the 3-day event, where a short list of 5 finalists presented their lighting show design to a live voting audience.
Lighting design is a mixture between science and art, really, and you're taking mechanical items and you're painting with light. So lighting design really is referenced from mood and texture and the subject that's actually being lit. You would take inspiration from that and you would then basically create from that canvas. There's a whole bunch of different things that make a show like this a reality. Essentially it's an LED pixel. Some of them are white, some of them are different colors, and by mixing and bringing those in and out, we can basically paint any surface with color or texture or create a mood or a vibe or anything like that with those basic utensils.
The specialist in live event and entertainment technology brought a varied skill set to the audiovisual sector at MediaTek, incorporating audio engineering, conceptualizing and designing breathtaking sets.
The way we do it is you can either do something via time code where the music is sending a signal to the lighting, or you can do it manually, and that's where a bit of the black art comes in from a lighting designer. Is he's in touch and he feels the music and he would then play back his cues and his looks and that in relation to the music when it goes high and low and has quiet moments or noisy moments.
After judges' deliberation and audience votes, the winners were announced.
I always start with the track because for me, you got to light something. So you're not just doing lighting for the sake of lighting. So in this case, you're lighting to a piece of music. So the first thing is to go through a piece of music, listen to it over and over again, and find the points and find what speaks from the music into the lights, and translating the music into the lights.
While the song used is important, the lights can't dance to that beat without the right technology.
The competition provided you with a demo version of their visualizer, which is basically, it creates a live 3D model of what you saw here today. So I sat at home on a computer, plugged my laptop into the TV, and so you have the rig on the TV, and you have there's a software version of the desk that I ran on today, and you program on the computer, on the software.
The winner will now go to Denmark to improve his skills.
After the break, we discuss the phenomenon that is Black Twitter. Andile Masuku from African Tech Roundup is in studio for that one. Stay with us.
I think winter is definitely one of those seasons where you can really show off your sartorial choices. You can start from a single layer of a shirt, actually starting with thermals, build it up with the shirts. You can have beautiful knits over the shirts like we've done with Jay.
This film tells the story of a very, very significant political figure in the struggle for freedom in South Africa, who happened to be a woman. She was Nelson Mandela's wife.
The exhibition is an exploration into black femininity. Tabitha is a woman of color, and she is exploring the historical exploitation of the black female body.
Newtown Junction Mall hosted an epic contest in the cold where 3 top South African graffiti artists battled it out for the opportunity to become the Newtown Graffiti Face-Off Master.
For your weekly dose of entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
Welcome back. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, in recent years, we've seen black people group together to raise their voice on Twitter for a common cause. This is often called Black Twitter. Black Twitter conversations have managed to cross borders. We've also seen black people take on public figures they find racist on social media. Sometimes they group together to take on other black people. In a light moment, entertainer Somizi Mhlongo even dedicated a song to Black Twitter when he hosted the Summers this year.
3 things I never mess with in my life, that I'm terrified, petrified, perplexed. No, that perplexed. But it's fine. There's 3 things I don't mess around with. It's God, SABC, and Black Twitter. Then I study Black Twitter. You. Already they're making a meme. They're gonna put a wallpaper next to me, and then I vanish. But it's fine. It's fine. I got paid to look snacks. Hello, man. Hello, man. Hello, man. You So, here is my song. This is how I feel about Black Twitter. I dedicate this song to Black Twitter. Gube guyangami gabe gatenga hamba nyazvela amsena manlo ogubegezela okusala yonyatha anda Black Twitter mina ngithi ngiyakusaba ngiyakunyanya mara nginamagazi okukutshela ngoba wena uyazazi you can make or break my career.
Now, Black Twitter has been seen to be light as well, and a lot of laughter is shared about television programs and black culture and norms. There's also been the hashtag that's positive about Africa, which was the Africa They Don't Show on TV. To help us discuss Black Twitter is Andile Masu. Hello, Andile.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, Andile, is it really as bad as Somizi says? He even says in Nyanya Black Twitter.
It might be worse. It might be worse than he says. I think we are in a new age of accountability and transparency. Twitter is just one of the many social media platforms that have harnessed the democratization potential of the internet. And definitely black folk on platforms like Twitter are definitely taking full advantage of platforms like it.
How did it start?
I think, the Black Lives Matter campaign to me stands out as probably when quote-unquote black Twitter became a real thing. The senseless killings of black males in the US that has, sort of captured headlines across America and across the world has just captured the imagination. And like I said, Black Twitter represents a marginalized minority in the case of America, and perhaps a voiceless majority in the case of South Africa and other places on the continent, who feel now they have a place to be themselves and to assert their identity, but also to tell it like it is.
We'll come back to issues in America, Black Lives Matter, Ferguson, and the issues that you mentioned. In South Africa, we saw the rise of Black Twitter, especially with the Roads Must Fall movement, which later became Fees Must Fall.
Right, and data must fall, and pretty much everything must fall at this point. What we're really seeing is communities of like-minded individuals finding in Twitter, the opportunity to basically organize themselves and put a united front towards, powers that be that they might perceive either don't care or not willing to represent their interests.
But how much of it can end up as protest on Twitter and not necessarily protest on the ground?
So a lot of, there's been a lot of criticism around the issue that, a lot of us who participate in activism on platforms like Twitter don't take it further than that. And I think it's true. You have to firstly bear in mind that, a recent study showed that less than 40% of Kenyans, for example, in the case of East Africa, are in fact on Twitter or social media in general. So, I don't know what the stats might be for South Africa, for example, but I can tell you that Twitter doesn't represent Twitter is not the country. So if we start by understanding that, Twitter, or people on Twitter, South Africans on Twitter, are a subset of a much greater, populace, you start to understand that even if they were to sort of take their efforts off the platform and actually into the streets, perhaps, even then it might not be as effective or as powerful as we might hope or think.
One would think, though, that there would be a representation, maybe at least a somewhat great representation of a society that they represent, especially their views.
So here's the thing. I mean, the media, right, which is a blanket term for everything from the SABC to privately held media, is often criticized for not being representative enough. I know because of the public broadcasting mandate, SABC and the likes of perhaps ETV are forced to be far more representative than perhaps other media platforms. That said, there is a broad sense that, I don't see myself represented. I don't see my interests being, carried forward as much as I would like. And what Twitter allows me to do is basically use my own voice, find people who think like me, and basically gang up on the people who would otherwise ignore me.
So you pretty much are saying it's democratized the space and conversation and the narrative, hence Black Twitter.
Yes, I'd go as far as saying it's actually enlarged the public space, I believe the public space is actually in the process of redefinition. In the past, I mean, there are people who might not even have thought of themselves as part of discourses in the public space who now quite easily pick up their phones and participate readily.
And we in South Africa spoke briefly about Fees Must Fall. That's when we saw action move from a hashtag on Twitter to people going to the ground to actually protest, and those placards read Fees Must Fall.
I think they are unsung heroes who actually get the work done in the streets. Now, there's often an overflow in terms of the subset of people who both are on Twitter and in the streets. But I think oftentimes Twitter is really representative of, the desires and maybe the feelings of really an empowered minority. If you think about it. And I mean, it certainly does place people like you and I in a greater sense of, it should give us a greater sense of responsibility, understanding that, yes, one, the average South African doesn't have the ease of access that you and I might have because of our access to broadband, because of our perhaps reach, because of the networks we've developed, because of our understanding of digital media. And so on some level, you have to appreciate the fact that just because you see something blow up on Twitter, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's in fact as big a deal in the streets or, in the neighborhoods and perhaps even in the townships.
Are we likely to see the growth of this phenomenon that is Black Twitter?
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm all for it. As a sort of non-journalist operating in a journalistic space, I have to appreciate the power of technology to empower us with a voice. We have to start to own this potential for us to have an agenda, to participate in the agenda-setting mandate that might have been left up to big media and other bigger interests, perhaps even commercial interests.
And Masu from African Tech Roundup, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Absolute pleasure.
All right. Now, he's been on Mubango as an actor. He now hosts a current affairs program. This week, we caught up with SABC's very own Mpho Tsedu, and he told us what his favorite gadget is.
What time is it? It's question time. My name is Mpho Tsedu from Question Time. My favorite gadget is my very old iPhone. I can't get rid of it. It's older than my kids, actually.
We're talking news, business, and sporting updates both continentally and abroad. South Africa is in its first economic recession since 2009.
Currency has appreciated, quite a lot, especially for this year, and it has benefited from a number of things. Not so much to do with what was happening here at home,
The Islamic State-linked news agency Amaq claims the latest attack was launched because of Australia's backing in the US fight against the group.
Constad is one of the dozens of women who have accused Cosby of sexual assault, but hers is the only case recent enough to be subjected to criminal prosecution.
Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
When I was passing the casino, I said, that edge came, said, I'll just try, you never know. You might go home with 80,000, times 4 the amount that you have. And that stupid day, I lost all my money.
Never allow glamorous lifestyles to push you beyond your means.
The awakening moment was that 2007, when I left my children alone. I realized this is hurting me.
Ask for professional help if gambling is controlling you. Know when to stop.
I faced reality that, for you there's no quick reach, so you just have to work hard. So it's gone.
For all your uplifting stories, catch Bupilong every Friday at 17:30.
Hashtag us SABC Network or SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Follow us there. Now, Taiwan sends off its first domestically made satellite to the US. 2 of the largest dark webs have been shut down in the United States of America. These are some of the tech stories that made headlines in the last week.
Taiwan shipped its very domestically made satellite to the United States on Wednesday for its launch into space.
We started planning the satellite in 2009, all the time up until now. In those more than 6 years, all of our partners worked very hard to create a satellite from scratch, including all the important internal parts, which were 100% domestically produced. So we are very excited, but also a bit reluctant to send it off.
The satellite will be carried into orbit by a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Its main function will be to provide data on natural disasters, environmental research and national security. In the US of A, 2 of the largest dark web marketplaces have been shut down following a landmark international law enforcement investigation.
Today, the Department of Justice announces the takedown of the dark web market Alpha Bay. This is the largest dark market web place takedown in world history. An Alpha Bay staff member claimed that this group serviced more than 40,000 illegal vendors, people who sell illegal products, for more than 200,000 customers.
And its showbiz in San Diego. From the dragons of Westeros and the Walking Dead zombies to the deadly humanoid robots of Westworld, the golden age of television is dominating the limelight at San Diego's annual Comic-Con.
It gives you a way to kind of express your inner nerd in a way that's very safe. Like, there's not going to be people looking at you like, what? And you can come half dressed like a lot of characters are in games. But it's like a whole bunch of different cultures.
Drawing more than 100,000 attendees, Comic-Con has become an increasingly important tool for Hollywood to generate interest in upcoming projects.
Seems like they had a lot of fun at Comic-Con. Now, if you've been wondering how Tour de France has been able to simplify a lot of data for many audiences viewing on social media and other platforms, well, we have that answer for you. It's been with the help of a South African company, Dimension Data, and a little gadget they've created. This little gadget gets plugged in at the back of every bicycle used at Tour de France. Information is then transmitted to the cloud and to data centers. It then ends up as graphs that are used on social media and by broadcasters worldwide.
Then this year we've applied a different
a different set of metrics and some new innovations, and we're trying out what we call machine learning and predictive analytics.
So this means some algorithms predict who might be in the top 5 of the Tour de France depending on how they've been doing in different stages. This also can help online audiences keep track with what's happening with the race and engage in conversations as well. In order to deliver this data in near real time, Dimension Data has been using a radio frequency network.
We couldn't use GSM technology and we couldn't use satellite technology because the latencies are too slow for us. To get that 1 second, we had to create a moving radio frequency environment. So we piggyback on the back of the television network that already exists, that's supplied by Euromedia in France. We piggyback on that. We relay the data through the same way the television feed goes, which is then through the helicopter to a fixed-wing aircraft, down to our truck, which sits at the finish line. We back it up into the cloud. We do a lot of analysis of the data in the cloud using the data that's sitting in our cloud environments, and then we produce it we then distribute it onto the various digital platforms.
They say this method of collating and analyzing data can be used in other events as well, and it doesn't have to be a sporting event. After the announcement that Puerto Rican song Despacito by Luis Figo and Daddy Yankee is the most streamed song of all time, we asked you on Twitter how you mostly listen to music. Now, 23% of respondents said on CD. That is the second highest number of respondents. 20% said on streaming services. In first place is 55% who said on digital downloads. In last place are 2% of respondents who said vinyls. And that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za. On email. We leave you with visuals from Comic-Con. From me and the rest of the network team, have a good one. Bye-bye.